Hey YouTube, it's me Dan from DroneTastic, reminding you to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get right down to it. I had a couple of questions since my last video that I posted about using the Mobius cam as an FPV cam here. Those questions revolved around latency, both while recording and not recording. So I've set up a little rig over here, and we're going to switch to it now. So what you can see here is I've got my Android phone on the left, I've got the screen for the transmitter on the right, I have a Mobius cam hooked up over here. It is not recording currently, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the timer, and if there's any latency, we'll see it here. There are 99 hundredths of a second on this timer, so let's go for it. So it doesn't look like there's more than maybe 100 milliseconds, but we won't know just from looking at this. It's a very quick transition between full seconds between the displays. So what I'm going to do is pause the video from this feed, and as soon as I see it zero out on the hundredths of a second, and we'll be able to do some calculations from that.
Okay, so it looks like we got 31 1600ths of a second on the phone and 31 100ths of a second on the receiver. So that comes to 1500ths of a second, or 150 milliseconds.
All right, now I've got the camera recording, and what I'm going to do is start the timer again. And at first glance, it looks like we're right on. Within 100 milliseconds, just like we were before. For those of you not familiar with this camera, when this light flashes, it does mean that it's recording here. So we look good to go. So let me wait till we get to. Let me pause the video at when this says 0 on the hundreds of the seconds on this side, because then we can take the value here and make the calculation and find out how many milliseconds of latency we're seeing while recording.
Okay, and for the recording test, it looks like the phone says 34 seconds and 21 hundredths of a second, and the display on the receiver says 34 seconds and 7 hundredths of a second. That comes to 14 hundredths of a second difference, or 140 milliseconds. So between the two readings, it looks like we're looking at anywhere between 140 and 150 milliseconds. I would just round up. It's 149, 148.
So based on the results that we found here, I guess really at the end of the day, it's up to you, right? How many milliseconds of latency are you willing to put up with? I think what I'm seeing here is not too much for general flying, having a good time doing some FPV stuff at the schoolyard, going through the football gates, that kind of stuff. If you're a serious racer, maybe you want a faster response time. You know, maybe you won't settle for anything more than 25 milliseconds or whatever the other cameras are providing. I'm not sure that there's much difference between a real FPV cam and the Mobius, which is a great cam as it sits. I think what we'll do next is I'll pull out my King Kong drone, and I'll pull the same experiment out, and we can verify a real board camera versus the Mobius and see what that latency looks like in another video, of course. I'm going to flip over to the other camera view one more time. I want to show you something that I found out that I thought was rather interesting about this cam. In my previous video, and this camera just fell off, but it's getting kind of warm, I had to hook up the positive lead. Okay, and that positive lead charges the Mobius cam. Now, I don't know how much life the Mobius cam battery has. I've recorded for a good long time on one, 20-25 minutes, which is more than a battery is going to last. So I did unplug the power cord so I wouldn't drain my 800 milliamp hour battery here. So that's pretty nice. I didn't know that I could do that, and I wanted to share that with you guys today, so that you know that this camera can run off its own battery and then it's not constantly charging. There was also a comment made by someone that if it's constantly charging from the board, it can really screw these batteries up. So that's a nice alternative right there, being able to take that out. All right, and with that, I want to thank you for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to provide information to you that might be useful. I want to remind you one more time to like, share, and subscribe if you like, and hope to see you again soon. Take care.